Hello, I'm John Moore, a hybrid infrastructure consultant at Bechtle, and I'm here with Mark Sprosen from the Lenovo data center business and Joe Cleary from the Lenovo PC group to explain in short order why Lenovo, Bechtle, and VMware make a great partnership for your end user compute estate. So, kicking straight off, Mark, what is it that Lenovo, VMware, and Bechtle are looking to address in a customer's current end user compute experience?
Well, firstly, John, thanks very much for the invitation to be here. And let me start by talking a little bit about our relationship with VMware. Lenovo have enjoyed a 20-year relationship with VMware around our data center offerings. In fact, we won 2020 Partner of the Year award for value. But it's not just about our relationships, it's about what Lenovo deliver in terms of our data center piece. I'm sure many people here will appreciate and know Lenovo's position in the marketplace for our PC business. In fact, I'm sure Joe will go to great lengths to explain that. But from our data center perspective, we're very proud of our reliability and performance credentials, and indeed our supply chain credentials. We are essentially the number one performer in terms of delivery for high performance compute, looking at the top 500. We have over 180 positions or organizations that are using that out of the top 500. In the last 7 years, we've delivered a higher percentage of reliability in our x86 platform than any of our competition, in some instances outperforming that by 9 to 15 times. And Gartner have ranked us number 15 globally for our supply chain, not just in the IT industry, but across all industries, sitting beside Diageo and Coca-Cola. Looking specifically at the end user compute experience, what Lenovo, VMware, and obviously Bechtle are looking to do is to try and help organizations to be as productive working where the people are today versus where their offices used to be or where indeed they used to operate. But not just about where they are, but we need to help individuals work as well apart as they have done historically when they're within environments. And in doing that, we focused in an area referred to as typically virtual desktop infrastructure. And there's a couple of key reasons why people kind of look around that VDI program. And they have to focus on the challenges of security, where organized individuals are working from locations that are less secure by definition. They have to be able to embrace mobility, but they have to ensure that mobility doesn't come at the cost of manageability, or indeed at the cost of incremental costs that just keep scaling upwards. Some organizations will absolutely have to maintain that data in their data center, their data gravity. Financial institutions, public organizations that cannot have that data sitting in an individual's laptop in their home office. So they have to have that capability to manage the availability of that data and application remotely. And Lenovo are uniquely placed to do that with our essentially end-to-end capability. The fact that we've got not only server, storage, hyperconverged infrastructure offerings, but we've got the thin clients, the smartphones, the laptop, and everything in between almost, including our capability to design and test our virtual desktop infrastructure systems to enhance the end user compute experience. And to that point, we've built and delivered VMware focused VDI bundles, which you'll be able to see in later sessions through Bechtle. So that's really how we're helping to address the challenges today, John. And I think it's a fairly comprehensive response to your question.
Thanks, Mark. Joe, so if perhaps I hand over to you, if the data is now residing in the data center and the compute's all virtual, aren't client devices largely irrelevant?
John, that's a really, really good question. And actually, the short answer is no. The endpoint devices are still very, very relevant. Okay, and organizations need to understand that from a security perspective, okay, they need to look outside of the data center and at those endpoints as well, ensuring that they are secure, that they are reliable, that they're manageable, and really depending on the type of end user experience they're trying to achieve with their VDI, that they have sufficient resources. Being the number one PC brand in the world, Lenovo have a fantastic range of commercial notebook, Chromebook, and thin client offerings. And all of these corporate devices are actually underpinned by something we call ThinkShield. Now, ThinkShield is it's a comprehensive portfolio of both standard and optional services, which actually help organizations to increase the security of their endpoint devices as well as the manageability. From a thin client perspective, it's also sort of key for us to point out that all of our thin client devices can be centrally managed via the Lenovo Terminal Management Console, regardless of whether or not they're a Linux or Windows-based operating system. It's all the same console. And that for our Chromebook products, organizations can actually look at the Google Enterprise Management Suite to be able to remotely manage and deploy those. But one of the things that we've actually seen through this pandemic is that a lot of organizations have actually gone out and they almost sort of maxed out or really stretched their IT assets budgets, for typical notebook and desktop refreshes. And in a lot of instances, they've actually purchased a large number of non-corporate machines. Okay, and being non-corporate, it's very difficult to actually securely manage those within an environment, especially if they're unable to join a domain. So Lenovo actually have a fantastic product within our thin client portfolio called the Lenovo Cloud Desktop, which is essentially a copy of our Linux operating system, which they can install on x86-based machines and essentially turn that into a converted Linux thin client solution. And we've even got a version of that called Kogo or Cloud on the Go, which allows organizations to plug in a USB stick into a device, boot to that, and they get that secure thin client operating system. So it's a really, really good solution for things like BYOD. Outside of the actual devices, though, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of organizations may have already maxed out their budgets. Lenovo offer a fantastic range of financial services, okay, ranging from your full-on device as a service type contracts through to sort of standard leasing deals. And we even have asset recovery services, including sort of buyback schemes as well to help organizations remove those non-corporate devices out of their environment, get some cash back and use that to spend on new IT assets. So with all of this in mind, John, and we've covered what we can do from a client perspective at Lenovo. Do you have any examples of how Bechtle have actually assisted organizations to ensure they're actually getting the right solution for their requirements?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I think the first thing to point out is end user compute is different for every organization depending on the kind of workloads and job functions that those people are doing. And quite often we find that organizations want to do a subsection of the organization, not necessarily every machine. But I guess in terms of specifics, we've had a customer recently who went through a full tendering process and bolting together some of the technologies we've talked about here and focusing in on some of the kind of key requirements around security and manageability. We managed to put together a far more cost-effective solution than most of the vendors by taking advantage of the various technologies that we've talked about today. I mean, I hope some of this has been helpful, and this has been a real short introduction to what we're talking about. And we're going to go on further to talk about the bundles and how this fits together to make that more consumable for you. But this is all part of a journey, and so I'd encourage customers to kind of take a look at some of the assets we've signposted here to give a kind of deeper dive into the subject. Including a great whiteboard session hosted by Mark and Joe that they did earlier this year, or simply contact your account manager directly. It's a good bye from myself, Joe and Mark. Thanks for your attention this afternoon, and we'll speak to you soon.